Scott Weiland, 12:04 the time. Welcome to the Mornings with Ed show, Monday, July 20th. I cannot believe July has flown by this quickly. It is, of course, the lunch hour, and as I often say, during the lunch hour, always support your local eateries. No matter where you are, no matter how far away from Laguna Beach you are, during your lunch hour, support your local eateries. Burgers, tacos, sandwiches, sushi, whatever. They've got the thinnest margins of all brick and mortar businesses. We support our local eateries here. And I am delighted. This is our second time this summer. She's back for the summer. And this may be our last, I'm not sure if this will be our last conversation this summer, but Professor Melissa Harris, Professor of Psychology, been on the program many times before, a happiness facilitator at the breadth of her existence, but able to answer just about everything that we ask. So for another conversation, Dr. Harris, or Professor Harris, how are you?
I am fantastic. So happy to be here.
I am so delighted to have you here. Thank you very much for making the effort. And you made an especially arduous effort today. You texted me about 10 minutes ago. Your street was blocked off with those maybe the ambulances that we're hearing and fire trucks.
Right, yeah.
And you ran here.
I did. I got my heart rate up a little bit. It was nice.
All right. Are you feeling relaxed? Are you feeling?
I'm feeling so relaxed. I feel very grounded. I, in true Laguna Beach style, did not have shoes in the car. Okay. So I got to run barefoot. So it was nice grounding.
Okay. well, again, thank you for making the effort.
Of
and
course.
Thank you for making it on time. How's your summer been so far?
Beautiful.
Right, good.
Absolutely wonderful.
Good.
Yeah.
When last you were here, we spoke about near-death experiences, you having had experienced a near-death experience. How are you feeling overall?
Amazing.
Okay.
I ran that entire run, just every breath with gratitude that my lungs are working and I'm able to move. And I'm back.
All right. Back 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. And thank you again for being here today. We'll talk about a lot of stuff. But I'd love to start with relationship attachment styles.
Sure.
We know that they describe how we emotionally interact with others, how we seek closeness. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a relationship, but also friendships as well, I'm sure. And there are 4 main styles. Am I right about this?
Yes, and for those of you who cannot see what I can see, Ed did his homework. He has things printed out, and I am just overwhelmingly impressed with the level of commitment to understanding this before I even came. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's hear the 4, Ed.
Well, oh, shucks.
Straight A student.
Well, there are the secure, there's the anxious, there's also avoidant, and disorganized.
Right,
Those would be the 4th. Each of them deal with all kinds of things like friction and conflict and everything different.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you describe yourself, if I may?
Well,
in most cases.
In most cases, yeah. One of the interesting things is that different relationships bring out different types of styles in each of us. So if you think about, how you typically see the world, if I need somebody, are they going to show up? If that answer is yes, then you're pretty secure. But there might be people that maybe they betrayed you or they bring out the worst in you. You might have a less secure attachment presentation in that specific relationship. Or maybe if you ask yourself, if I need somebody, are they going to show up? And the answer is no, and then you have one person that might be the exception. So when we look at it more like generally, how do you think your needs are going to be met? And I am so fortunate. I grew up with an amazing mom and dad. Right. And so I grew up thinking that, if I was hungry and cold, somebody would make sure that I got warm and had food. Right. And so I was able to take that into kindergarten and into high school and into relationships and then how I parent my children. And so you see that there's a high level of consistency for most people from their early childhood caregivers.
Let's talk about someone that didn't have that kind of experience, that grew up in an insecure household or with a less than secure household. Okay. Can they, within that frame of a family, can they have 4 completely different relationships with every member?
Yeah, we don't usually see that, but it can happen. And what we know from the research is that with both parents, we'll just keep it simple, 2 parents, maybe sometimes there's 3, 4, whatever, your primary attachments, they tend to parent very similarly. And this makes sense because if you think about it, like, would I be with somebody who parents wildly different than me? Probably not for long.
Right.
And so you see that people who are securely attached tend to mate with people who are securely attached and raise their kids in that paradigm. But things happen. And as a child, you think your parents are the cause for the sun coming up in the morning and the moon coming up at night. And so if you have lovely parents, then you have something really traumatic happen to you and you're 5, then that can make it so that you have an insecure attachment relationship because you think that your parents could have or should have stopped it. And so that betrayal extends to the storyline of my parents didn't protect me. Even though as a parent, we know we can't protect our kids from everything, right?
Right.
So you could have maybe 4 kids, like you were saying, going back to the family of lots of children.
Right.
They can have different attachment styles by the time they leave the house just because of their different interactions with the outside world.
Right. And I kind of already know the answer to this, but can kids feel or be correct in feeling that the parents have a favorite and a least favorite within the household?
I think that's such a funny question. I mean, did you wonder that growing up, like who the favorite was?
Not until I got older.
Really?
But as a small child, I always thought, well, our parents love us all. And then I just kind of realized that my brother, who was probably the one that was in the most trouble of us all, that needed the most parenting, was probably the favorite.
He took the most effort.
He took the most effort, but he was also the most endearing, and he was also the most loyal to the family. He was, he had all of these things going, but and all of us did. My 2 sisters and me all thought, yeah, Sergio's their favorite.
Yeah. You kind of just accepted it.
We just knew it.
Did it impact you?
No.
You were just like, okay, it's just how it is.
He was like, and it still is, like the Luca Brasi of our family. He was the defender of the whole family, which is how he got into a lot of the trouble.
Yeah.
And in our parents would never admit the fact, oh no, we don't have a favorite, we love y'all. It was that, but we kind of knew.
So my older brother, he always listens to your show.
Okay. Wow.
And so he's listening right now.
Thank you.
So we had this argument as children of who mom and dad liked the best.
Okay.
And we had the brilliant idea of duct taping walkie-talkies, putting one under their bed and taking one with us at night.
Okay.
So we were convinced that at night all they talked about was who was their favorite child. That is not what we heard.
No, of course it wasn't.
We still need therapy. We're still in therapy.
Of course you do.
But we did not get to the bottom of that. But I think that my mom says it very cleverly, and she says I have favorite children for different things. Like I have a kid that I would want to be trapped in an elevator with if I got stuck there, and I have another kid that I would want to go to the grocery store with. And so I think that inherently we have different strengths in the relationships with our children, and that's going to be felt. But I do feel like if you can teach the abundance mindset, that it's very helpful. With my kids, we always just say love is limitless. The more love you have, the more love there is to give. And so it's not about, you get 20%, you get 20%, and the other kid gets a 50. That's not how it works. Right. But I even feel that way. I know who I'd want to go to a concert with and who I'd want to go to an art gallery with, and there's just different strengths with each kid. Okay.
Beautifully answered. Thank you very much for that. So every one of the attachment styles, disorganized, avoidant, anxious, and secure, they handle daily conflicts differently. How do each of them handle, or let's say friction? Let's say there's friction in the air.
Okay.
How do each of them handle them differently? What do they do differently?
We're going to go so nerdy for this. Are you ready?
This is why you're here.
Okay, buckle up. So you have an attachment with your parent, your caregiver.
Right.
And it's adaptive. So the whole reason I know how to answer this question is because I want to know why we behave the way that we do, why we mate, why we create the families we do, why when you give birth to a child, you don't just go, well, that was inconvenient, set it on the side of the road and keep walking, right?
Right.
And so we have evolved to care for each other. And within those caring relationships, there is going to be friction. There's going to be disagreements. And it's changed and evolved from when we were hunter-gatherers to now. But what fundamentally has not changed is that those early caregiving relationships are the narrative that we hear inside our head. And so in attachment theory, they call it an internal working model. This is the model we have going on inside of ourselves of why the world is the way that it is. Why when I have a need, people show up the way that they do or they don't show up the way that they do.
Right.
So it gets at the story in our head. So if somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I'm really upset about this thing and I have a secure attachment style, then I'm going to be much more likely to say, we can have a conversation, understand each other, and become closer because of it. And that's the goal, is that we stay connected and that we stay understanding. And I've been shown in my past that if I have a problem or if somebody else has a problem, that we can talk about it, resolve it, and move forward. And so that would be the secure, right?
Right.
So if I have an insecure attachment style, the person shows up and they're like, I have a problem. The story in my head's going to look different. It's not going to be, hey, when we're done with this, we're going to be so much better off from having this conversation. It's going to be, oh shit, this person's going to leave me. They're going to abandon me. It's not going to go well. I'm not worthy of love. They finally figured it out. Now they know. And so you go into it with all this armor. And so depending on the narrative that you have in your head, it's going to be very, very different. We know that avoidant people, they tend to avoid, just like the title says.
Right.
And this might be a child where, say, their caregiver is not very attentive, and the narrative they start to tell themselves was, well, I don't need that person anyway.
They minimize.
Right. I don't need my mom to feed me when I'm hungry because I don't even feel hungry anymore. Right. They gaslight themselves like, I am totally fine here. And so as an adult, that is, well, I didn't need you anyway. I don't need you to understand me. I've been able to figure it out myself. Go on your way. Right. Anxious, they're the one that's like, well, maybe if I hold so tight to my caregiver's leg when I'm hungry, I'll get fed. Because if I let go of their leg, they disappear, I'm hungry, and they never show up again. Or when they do, it's not going to be predictable. So as an adult, I mean, we probably can think of the anxious examples: constant texting, have to know every password, share locations. And that's a pretty miserable place to exist as well.
On both ends.
Yes, on
Right.
both ends.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
How much of it, and I got stuck on the avoidant attachment one just now, but how much of that would be for them to maintain independence and avoid that emotional discomfort?
It's all about avoiding that vulnerability,
Right.
because they've been taught that vulnerability is not going to be met with that compassion or getting the need met.
Right.
And so, there's a huge driver for that.
Thank you. Let's talk about de-escalation if we can.
Okay, let's do it.
If you want to de-escalate daily conflicts, I'm guessing each one of the four different types has to consciously override what you would automatically think or do, including the secure, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. How do we manage friction based on that specific style of de-escalation?
So that is also a very lovely thing to look at. When we're looking at de-escalation, there are going to be common needs that go across the board. But because of the storyline, you're going to have to take a little bit different of an approach. So first, when you're looking at de-escalation, people have to feel safe, right? They have to feel seen, heard, safe. Those are all characteristics that are going to help with that situation. And it really gets down to how our nervous systems are trained. So a secure person is going to be able to have a nervous system that can get back to that place of feeling safe out of fight, flight, freeze, right? Whereas somebody who does not have the secure attachment, it's going to be much more of a challenge for them to get their nervous system back to a place where they can have that resolution. And so for an avoidant person and an anxious person, it's really how do you navigate the storyline they have in their head so that they can feel that safety, so that they can feel that connection. And so it would be, just making sure that they know that they have that space for vulnerability.
And that's up to the other then. At that point, if it's an anxious or avoidant type, it's up to the other, right? It's up to the secure type to actually manage that for them.
So you're just assuming that there's going to be a secure person in the room at all times there, Ed?
I am. All right.
So it's fascinating because we see that anxious and avoidant pair up, and that's a pretty amazing dynamic. They can do some pretty powerful dances with each other.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's doomed, but it means that there's probably going to be some cycles in play. And so with that awareness of maybe I'm feeling vulnerable and it's uncomfortable, what happens next? And so you can't really say that the secure person is always the one that's going to have to anchor it down. But I think it's just really bringing your strengths to every situation. And avoidant people, anxious people, they have strengths too. They know what it's like to live in the mind of somebody who doesn't feel like the other person's going to show up. They know how miserable that is. So if they can take that awareness and go, I don't want my partner to feel this way, I want to change the narrative in my head, I don't want to build that narrative in theirs, then you can see that you can start to deconstruct our go-to narrative and make that change. It's not easy, but it can absolutely happen.
Okay, so of the four, secure, anxious, avoidant, disorganized, we've talked about anxious and avoidant a lot, not as much the disorganized, but it would appear that with a disorganized type, it's marked by a lot of confusion.
Yeah, so the example that I use in the classroom with disorganized is if you have a parent who drinks a lot. Maybe when they're sober, they're one way, and when they're drunk, they're another. Right. So you don't know what you're going to get as a small child. Right. So, drunk mom is maybe asleep, passed out on the couch. Sober mom makes you cookies and welcomes you home from school. So it's this, I don't know what to expect. And with that one, it's the smallest percentage of people, but we see it in more severe cases where there's abuse, neglect, drug dependency. And that one is really where the nervous system is just always in high alert because they don't know what they're going to get. With the anxious and the avoidant, they have a better roadmap. Like, you're always going to let me down is sort of the narrative there.
Right.
Versus the confused, maybe sometimes you will, maybe sometimes you won't.
Okay. And in seeking a love relationship, in seeking, dates in high school or a love relationship, that is almost an impossibility for that type of characteristic.
It's challenging. Right? Yeah. I am the optimist here that always
you are. I'm not.
Right. Yeah, right. That people can get healthier. And I think it's just such an unpleasant place to exist. Right. I have a younger brother, and I used to always use his dating stories when I would go through the attachment styles in my classrooms. And then he became a professor at the same place I was, and I had to stop using him as an example because he became a real human in people's lives. But I had this screenshot of these text messages that he had with a person that definitely fit the disorganized criteria. And it went something like, hey, Jake, I'm so glad that we got to see each other. I sure love you, and I'm so grateful you're in my life. I hope your trip is fun. Hey, Jake, you haven't texted. Just wondering if you're okay. Hey, Jake, we're going on 2 days now. I know you left me for somebody else, and just dived into that whole narrative of what a piece of crap he was. Right. And then my favorite was, hey, Jake, I just realized you probably don't have cell phone service. I hope you're still having a great trip. I made you salsa. And that was the kicker. I made you salsa. Like, you can just vomit all of that.
Right.
And then just go back to like, oh, we're good. That just happens. That's what people do. And so he showed up at my door and he was like, is this okay? And I was like, well, it's not the healthiest. How do you feel about that, Whiplash? But it is one of those things where you could feel the pain in her texts.
Right.
She went through the highest high to the lowest low of, obviously, I didn't hear from you. You're making the worst choices ever, and our relationship is at risk. And I think that that's a pretty good test for yourself. If you don't hear from your partner, what is the story that you tell yourself? Or if you don't hear from your friends or, your family members, is it because they don't like you anymore? Or is it because they got busy?
Right.
And if it's a more generous assumption, you're probably in the healthier category and life is easier and less painful for you.
Right.
And so I look at the motivation behind trying to become more secure, and it's definitely there.
As you were reading the screenshot that you have to this day, as you were reading that, my heart was breaking for her.
Oh, yeah.
But also for him.
Right.
And what he was having to
process.
Right.
Yeah.
And if part of, and I'm gonna, what happened with her? Is she out of his life?
So the really wild thing is with this is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You have an anxious person. They constantly want to see your texts. You need to prove yourself all the time. Every time you don't call them, they're like, what's wrong? What's the emergency? Who is she? Who's he? You don't love me anymore. It's exhausting. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, okay, I can't do this anymore. We're done. And then they're like, I knew it. I didn't cling hard enough. And now you left me. And there is my hypothesis proven correct, right? Or avoidance, same sort of situation. If you've been in a relationship with somebody who has those big walls, you can sit there and try to break them down. Eventually you get exhausted and you go, okay, I'm done. Right. And then they go, yeah, I knew it. I knew this is how the story is going to end. Right. So no, they're not together anymore. Okay. And it was a really exhausting relationship for both of them. And secure people tend to have less of a tolerance for that style of relationship because it's not familiar to our nervous systems. Our nervous systems go, what in the heck is this? Why did I come out of, camping for 3 days and get this?
I don't even want salsa.
Right. Every once in a while, I still take them some salsa and be like, I made you salsa with a big grin. Like, that just makes everything okay. Oh, God. But, yeah.
And if part of the fix mm-hmm. is to get that person to, let's say, have gotten her to acknowledge the personality type that she was, mm-hmm. How difficult is that to get someone to acknowledge the fact that this is what you sent me, this is where you are? Can you get them to acknowledge that?
Yeah, so it's a little different than a personality trait, and we can kind of step back a little bit more. And so in the conversation that I had with my brother, he was like, is this normal? And I was like, let's just not use the word normal and just say, is this pleasant? and that's a really good gauge. Is this something that is pleasant or unpleasant? Right. Is it something that's comfortable and uncomfortable? And just by doing that reflection, both of them could say, this isn't comfortable. And I know my kids are my kids. When my son was dating a girl in the 8th grade, super young, and he was like, Mom, I'm really concerned that we're developing some codependency attachment style issues, that we're bringing out not the secure part in each other. And I don't know how to say this to her without offending her. And I found these quizzes that might give her some insight, but I also don't know how to say this. And I was like, oh man, this poor kid, 8th grade, and you're already... So just having the awareness of it, that this is uncomfortable, can be a conversation point. You don't have to say, the way that you were raised really screwed you up, and I'm here to call you on it. That's not going to go well. Right. And I think the way that my son approached it was, I think that we're making it so that we're not as happy as we could be, and we don't feel as safe in this relationship as we could, and that's important. And what can I do to help you feel safe? But at the end of the day, it's really on you. And that is, you can't fix somebody's attachment style with your own actions, because you can't change the story in their head. You can say, what makes it so that you feel safe, and I will show up that way as much as I can. And you can remind me of what really makes you feel loved and secure in this relationship. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that my son could do or my brother could do or any person could do to make somebody feel safe enough if they just are really fighting the demons in their head that this person's going to hurt me and leave me.
You raised a brilliant child, by the way. For in 8th grade to be thinking of it like that, you know.
Yes, I'm in awe of my children. I'm also very biased. But I do think that just asking yourself, when somebody doesn't call, what is the narrative that I say? That they got busy and they're off having fun, and I wish them well and I love them, or they're off with somebody else because they don't love me anymore, or they forgot me, or I'm not important. So looking at that can really give you insight. And the nice thing is that no matter where you are on that attachment continuum, you can make it so the voices in your head are kinder and more gentle.
Okay. And any one of these styles, do they lend themselves to a polyamorous relationship?
So that's a great question. You can be polyamorous in any of those styles. When we look at love and romantic love in particular, obviously there's a huge relationship between your attachment style and the kind of relationship that you create as an adult. And so we've talked before about love and Sternberg's triarchy of love theory. Right. And so basically Sternberg came along and he said, you can put any relationship that you have into a triangle by the absence or presence of 3 different things. The first one's intimacy. That's the connection, the closeness, the staying up and talking all night or feeling like you really know the person, right? There's the passion. This is the I want to make out with you. And then there's the commitment. And the commitment is 10 years from now, 20 years from now, where do I see this relationship going? Are we together? Are we sitting at the kitchen table? Are we growing old together? And that can be for romantic relationships or, liking relationships. You can be committed to your friends or to your siblings or, so all of those components make up what Sternberg called the consummate love. So, and that's usually what we want, right? We want that intimacy. We want that passion. We want that commitment. And if you have a secure attachment style, it's more likely that you're going to see all 3 of those in a healthy way in your relationship. And one of my favorite things to do is in my college classrooms filled with, 18 to 25-year-olds typically, is say, can you have more than one consummate relationship at a time? And then see them struggle with each other, struggle with their own thoughts, struggle with that idea of, well, what does that mean? Is the commitment piece mean only one person? Could it be 2 people? Could it be 3 people? What about the passion? What about the intimacy? And the reality of it is we only have so much bandwidth. We only have so many hours in the day, right? So if you're with one partner, then that might be taking resources from another. But I don't know, Ed, I'm going to throw this back on you, like you're my college student. Yeah. Do you think it's possible to have consummate love relationships that are healthy with a secure attachment in more than one relationship? I
believe this. I think that, okay, I'll take you back a few years to when I was much younger, and I had several simultaneous physical relationships.
Of course you did, Ed. without
a steady, and I didn't pine for any of them without a steady girlfriend, I just had a lot of physical relationships. Currently, I've been with the same person for well over 20 years, 23 years now.
Right.
I cannot imagine my life like that anymore.
So the earlier relationships, was it more the passion angle?
It was the sex.
Yeah, so it was just the physical. There wasn't the intimacy. There wasn't the commitment.
It was just the sex.
So now that you've been in this 20-year plus relationship, and I've had the honor and pleasure of meeting your beautiful partner.
Thank you.
You and I have had conversations off the air of just how amazing that relationship is. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say you've got the consummate holy grail of relationships.
Yeah.
So what do you think is different with that?
There's a sense of, I think it's the commitment part of it.
Okay.
I think for me, it's the commitment part. This is who I'm going to die with. Not with, but hopefully, and then I'll even include this. I have the one fear in my life is that she goes first. I need to go first. I could not imagine that. I have friends that have passed away, and then I look at their partner, and I don't want to be the one that's left.
How does she feel about that?
I don't know.
Because there's part of me that's like, wow, you're really selfish there, just leaving her here without you, huh? You think she loves you less? If you're wishing, just wish you go at the exact same moment, right? Yeah, holding hands.
I may as well. But just to put a point on it, I could not imagine that barren life. For me, it would be barren after that. She is who I share everything with. I talk,
And for those of you who cannot see Ed, he is glowing and radiant as he talks about her, and you can see the sadness at just the thought of not having her, and so that is what Sternberg said is the consummate love relationship. So as we look at this idea of polyamory or ethical non-monogamy, I think that that's something that individuals really have to ask themselves. And my students were always really angry at the end of this lecture that I didn't give them an answer, that I didn't say, well, actually, according to research,
Right.
But there are some things that are for the heart, and they're not for graphs, and they're not for charts, and they're not for tables. And so we do know that you can have ethical non-monogamy and be entirely securely attached. I think that there is this idea or this narrative that, oh, you must have been broken somewhere and that's why you need 5 people, or you have to get all your needs met outside because XYZ. But really there's a lot of motivating reasons why people would choose the way that they go about having intimate relationships and passionate and commitment and all of those things. And so with polyamory, there's those 3 components are either absent or present, just like in any other relationship.
So the college students between 18 to 24 that you talk of, when they answer that question, do they answer it from a place of what they need to say or what actually exists for them? Are you finding honesty in their responses?
I'm finding that there are kind of the people that answer from a place of fear, and there are people that answer from a more place of love. And so I see a lot of passion when I ask that. People get pretty heated and emotional around it. And so, I think that there's a lot of fear still in people of 18 to 24, and actually clear until the day we die, and younger, every direction. And so it really comes down to knowing yourself and knowing what you're capable of and where you can love best. And I think that that's probably the best approach to come from that place of love. But that takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage. And sometimes that's not always available to us. Right.
Okay. Thank you for that. And in a relationship attachment style of being secure, whether it's friendship or loving relationship or whatever kind of relationship it is, how long and how difficult a task is it to where you draw the line with another type, whether that is anxious or disorganized or avoidant? Is there, and you did say there was a point to where you go, all right, I'm done. Where should that line be drawn?
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm understanding this.
Okay.
Can I give an example and you'll tell me if I'm understanding you?
Sure.
Okay. So are you saying you have a friend or a lover and you just don't think it's bringing the best out in you, or that it's healthy when you say enough is enough and we're not going to have each other in our lives?
I'm not saying that about me personally, but I am using that exact example.
That
Yes.
is the example. Okay.
Right.
Just wanted to make sure I understood it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that again is something that you have to look at individually. There are relationships that bring out the better part of you, and there are relationships that maybe give you a chance more to grow.
Right.
And everybody's limit is going to be different on that. If all you do is surround yourself with people that really make it so the narrative in your head is like, am I special? Am I worthy? You might want to get some kinder friends in your life.
Right.
And they have a bigger influence than sometimes we give credit for. So you can take somebody who, you know, is really struggling in a relationship and put them in a new one, and they're not going to have those same struggles. And so different people bring out different things. I think it's just making sure that you can stay rooted and grounded in the best version of yourself. And I always joke about this. I have one friend that is just a hard friend. He's very challenging. And whenever I meet somebody and I think, okay, they might be a challenging friend, I'm like, no, I have a one asshole friend limit, and I've reached it. And we've been friends for 30 years, and I'm not ready to replace him. But you know, if that's all of your friends, then that's going to just exasperate something that's already challenging. So I would say make sure that, you know, your core people that you spend time with really do bring out that safety, and check in with your nervous system. That's such a great, it won't lie to you. If you're around somebody and you feel on edge and your breath is shallow and you feel fight or flighty, probably not the best person to be spending 24/7 with.
And this friend of 30 years, the one asshole in your group, the way that you deal with him, is it, well, I'm just walking away right now, I'm not even going to pay attention, or do you actually try and get him to acknowledge the issue?
Well, I might be the issue too. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like,
Right.
I'm in this relationship with him. It's not him alone.
Right.
And we're kind of like in chemistry. You take two different substances, you put them together, and it's a third substance. Right. And so in that relationship, I'm probably not my most secure, best self, which means I shouldn't spend 24/7 with him. And so I think that that's where it gets a little bit more like I've got to own myself in that scenario and realize I keep choosing to go back and be his friend. But there's, you know, at that point, he's almost like family. I would feel bad walking away.
Right.
So
I'll share with you a story on our next conversation of me clearing out the entire science lab by mixing ammonia with bleach.
And there are those relationships, right? Did you ever have a relationship where you were like, who was I?
Yeah.
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 And I think that even more than looking at, like, am I my best version of myself? When I am in a close relationship, I think, do I feel like me? Do I feel like myself? And that's a really good question, because there are relationships that make you feel like more yourself. And that doesn't mean that they're free of challenges. They might make it so that you have to grow. I was having a rough conversation a few months ago, and I could see me just shutting down. And the person said, we're not getting off the phone. We're going to resolve this. And they pushed me. And I was so glad, so glad. And so, you know, there's those moments where you can really change the dynamic of it and become a better version of yourself. Even in the healthiest of relationships, you're going to have those challenges where you have the opportunity to show up better and differently.
If you're between the ages of 18 to 25 and you want to take a college course, I strongly suggest Professor Melissa Harris.
I will give you no answers. I will leave you with more questions. But
yeah. When do you go back to school?
I start back on the 10th. The students start back on the next week.
Okay.
So
All
yeah.
right. And then we don't see you for a while, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Denver teaching, but I'll be coming back and forth. You all have the ocean here, which I'm a big fan of, and also, of course, friends and family here.
Well, please keep in touch, please. And then when you're back, that chair is yours. It belongs to you.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks so much.
All right. Professor Melissa Harris, as always, thank you very much. It's 12:44, 16 minutes shy of 1 o'clock, and it's the voice of Laguna.